He brings his heart, his energy, his loyalty, and he places it at her feet. Not because he's foolish, but because no one ever taught him what lies beneath the surface of a woman's affection. We tell men to be kind, to be giving, to make her feel safe, but we never tell them what to look out for. We never tell them how women operate in the shadows, not out of malice, but out of instinct. The modern man is taught to chase, to impress, to prove himself. But the Stoic man, he watches, he listens, and he learns to lead from stillness. This video isn't about playing games. It's about understanding the emotional structure of a woman's inner world. The 7 pressure points that shape how she reacts, how she connects, how she tests. Once you understand these hidden levers, you no longer crumble under confusion. You don't react. You respond. You don't get played. You set the terms. She won't say it out loud, but attention, praise, and confirmation feed her like oxygen. In an era where her phone is filled with fire emojis, heart reacts, and thirsty texts from men who barely know her, your attention becomes just another ping in a sea of noise. That's why, when you give it to Isoli, she zones out. Not because she doesn't appreciate it, but because it costs her nothing. The more available your validation, the less it holds value. Here's the catch. She doesn't just want approval. She wants to feel like she's earned it. And that's where most men fail. They give her emotional riches she never had to mine. Compliments on autopilot. Endless attention. Validation without friction. But the Stoic man holds back. Not out of cruelty, but because his attention has weight. He compliments with intent. He praises when it's deserved. His energy isn't a faucet, it's a spring. And only those who journey through the desert of his standards get to drink from it. When a woman can't tell if she has your approval, it creates tension. And tension breeds curiosity. She starts trying harder, laughing more at your jokes, dressing a little better around you. Why? Because she wants to earn what you haven't given. And that's the paradox. The man who gives less gets more. One day, she's your biggest fan. The next, she's distant, then sweet again, then moody. If you try to solve every emotional turn like a puzzle, you'll lose your sanity and your dignity. Here's the truth. Women feel more. That's not criticism. It's biology. Her hormones shift daily. Her emotional landscape is dynamic. You can't build your stability on her internal weather. What most men do is try to fix it, to soothe her, to make it better. But the Stoic man doesn't get pulled into the tide. He anchors. She rages. He breathes. She withdraws. He stands still. Not because he doesn't care, but because he knows his role isn't to ride the waves, it's to be the shore. You don't win her heart by matching her mood. You win it by being the contrast, the grounded presence in her emotional chaos. The one man who doesn't flinch when she lashes out, and doesn't beg when she turns cold. Stillness is power. And when she finally finds calm in your silence, you become her refuge, not her toy. She'll tell you she wants a kind man, a good man. A man who you've seen it before. Out of nowhere, an argument, a sudden shift in energy. She's picking at things that don't matter, testing your patience, making mountains out of dust. You think, what did I do wrong? But here's the deeper truth. You didn't do anything. And that's exactly why she's creating the chaos. When emotional intensity fades, some women subconsciously stir the pot to feel something again. It's not always conscious, but it's real drama. For many women, becomes a way to test the depth of your energy. Can you hold your frame when the storm hits? Can you stand calmly while she flails emotionally? Or do you snap, yell, or retreat into emotional weakness? Most men fail here. They fight fire with fire. They try to debate, argue, defend, explain, all of which just feeds the storm. But the Stoic man doesn't enter the arena. He sees the trap for what it is. A plea for containment. Not control, not submission, but containment. She needs to feel the perimeter of your masculine presence. So what does he do? He stays grounded, still, present. He doesn't collapse into the emotion. He doesn't surrender his energy to chaos. He simply refuses to dance with the fire. And guess what? That unshakable stillness, that emotional gravity, it does more than end the fight. It resets the polarity. She realizes, often in silence, that you're not like the others. You don't explode. You don't fold. You lead through energy, not reaction. That moment, that's when her respect deepens. Because she's not testing your love, she's testing your center. You could be everything she once wanted. Masculine, attractive, driven. But if you stop growing, if your ambition plateaus, if your edge softens, her attraction will start to fade. It won't happen immediately, but over time, her respect will rust. Not because you did something wrong, but because you stopped doing what made you magnetic in the first place, becoming more. Understand this. Female desire is forward-looking. She doesn't just love you for who you were. She loves you for the man you're becoming, for the path you're walking, for the sense that she's connected to someone who is always leveling up. This is where most men fall asleep. They get comfortable, complacent. They stop pursuing purpose and start prioritizing her. They make her their destination instead of part of the journey. And that mistake is fatal. Because when she senses you're no longer on an upward path, her subconscious reads that as risk. Risk to her future. Risk to her emotional safety. Risk to her social value. But the Stoic man doesn't grow for her. He grows for himself, because it's who he is. Because becoming sharper, stronger, wiser is non-negotiable. She sees that, and she feels it. He doesn't tell her he's a high-value man. He shows her through his consistency, his mission, his refusal to remain static. The man who's always evolving. He becomes emotionally irreplaceable, not because of what he gives her, but because of who he becomes in her presence. And when she sees that he's not afraid to leave her behind if she stops growing too, that's when she follows, not out of fear, but out of deep, primal respect. The reality. Women hide, but their patterns reveal every. Chians, you don't have to decode every text. You don't have to solve the mystery of every mood swing. If you simply observe her actions over time, you'll see the full truth. Her behavior is her truth. And the Stoic man doesn't interpret, he watches. He doesn't get seduced by words. He sees through emotional illusion. He pays attention to consistency, effort, investment. If her words say, "I love you," but her actions show disrespect, he believes the actions. If she says she wants a strong man, but gets uncomfortable when he leads, he trusts her discomfort, not her speech. Why? Because the Stoic man isn't moved by emotion. He's moved by evidence. The shift from being chaste to being chosin. There comes a moment in every man's journey where the polarity flips. He no longer hopes. He no longer chases. He no longer needs her attention, like oxygen. He becomes unavailable. 2 games. She begins to feel that something's different. She can't manipulate him. She can't provoke him. She can't extract a reaction. He smiles when she's angry. He remains calm when she withdraws. He says no when it's easier to say yes. That's when she starts chasing. Not out of insecurity, but because she senses his elevation, and she wants back in. She starts showing up. Texting first, asking about his schedule, complimenting his vibe. But here's where most men screw it up. She gives him crumbs of effort, and he floods her with attention. He thinks she's back, and overcommits again. And just like that, he kills the chase. Never forget. Her interest is not the finish line. It's just the start of her test. If she comes back, you don't open the gates and throw a parade. You observe, you allow. You remain scarce in energy, but present in purpose. The Stoic man doesn't reward effort with availability. He rewards consistency with access. Over time, with proof. Don't be the man who begs to stay. Be the man she fears. Loa Sanji, their S. A silence that echoes louder than any speech. It's the silence of a man who has finally remembered his worth. He doesn't announce his departure. He doesn't scream his value. He just detaches, and she feels it. Not because he says anything dramatic, but because his energy shifts. Because he no longer responds to breadcrumbs. Because he stopped explaining and started evolving. That's the moment she realizes, this man doesn't need me to breathe. And that realization flips her world. Be the mirror. Not the MSQ ority most men become reflections of what they think women want: funny, soft, always available, always proving. But that's a mask, and masks break under pressure. The Stoic man is not a mask, he's a mirror. He holds up truth.com, standard boundaries, not for her approval, but because that's who he is. And in that mirror, she sees herself clearly. She either rises to meet his standard, or she walks away. But the Stoic man, he never chases either outcome. He simply remains.